You cried at a dog food commercial last Tuesday. You cried because your toast was slightly burned. You cried because a stranger in the grocery store smiled at you and said, "You're glowing." And then you cried because you were embarrassed about crying so much. If this sounds familiar, you're not alone, and you're not losing your emotional stability. Your brain is doing something it's never done before. And the tears are a side effect of one of the most dramatic neurochemical events in human biology. Let's start with the numbers. During a normal menstrual cycle, estrogen and progesterone fluctuate within a relatively narrow range. During pregnancy, those same hormones increase by a factor that is, frankly, staggering. By the third trimester, estrogen levels are approximately 1,000 times higher than their pre-pregnancy baseline. Progesterone is roughly 300 times higher. To put this in perspective, if your normal hormone levels were a garden hose, pregnancy turns them into a fire hydrant, and your brain, which spent decades calibrating its emotional responses to the garden hose, suddenly has to manage a flood. A 2019 study from the University of Cambridge measured the relationship between these hormone surges and emotional reactivity in 200 pregnant women across all 3 trimesters. The findings were remarkably consistent. As estrogen rose, emotional responsiveness increased in direct proportion. Women didn't just feel more emotion. Their brains processed emotional stimuli differently, faster, more intensely, with less filtration. The researchers used functional MRI to observe brain activity, while participants viewed emotionally charged images. In non-pregnant women, the prefrontal cortex, the brain's rational, executive center, acted as a buffer. It received emotional information from the amygdala and modulated it, kept it in perspective, filed it as noteworthy but manageable. In pregnant women, that buffer was reduced. The amygdala's signal reached emotional awareness with less prefrontal filtration. Raw emotion arrived, unedited. This is why a burned piece of toast can make you cry. It's not that you believe toast is worth crying about. It's that the signal, something went wrong, travels from your senses to your emotional core without the usual executive summary. By the time your rational brain catches up and says, "It's just toast," the tears are already on your face. But here's what makes this truly interesting. The reduced prefrontal filtering isn't a malfunction. It's an adaptation. Dr. Jody Pulaski, a neuroscientist at the University of Rennes who specializes in the maternal brain, has spent years arguing that the emotional amplification of pregnancy is not a bug. It's a feature. In a 2020 paper, she described it as emotional sensitization in preparation for infant care. Think about what a newborn needs from its mother. Not rational analysis, not calm detachment, not measured, proportional emotional responses. A newborn needs a caregiver who is hyper-attuned to emotional signals, who can detect a subtle change in a cry and feel it urgently, who can look at a tiny face and experience an overwhelming flood of tenderness without needing a logical reason for it. The crying during pregnancy, it's rehearsal. Your brain is turning up the volume on your emotional system so that when an 8-pound human arrives, who communicates entirely through feelings, you're already calibrated to receive the signal. And the specificity of what makes you cry supports this theory beautifully. A 2021 survey, published in the Archives of Women's Mental Health, analyzed the crying triggers of 500 pregnant women. The top 3 categories: kindness from strangers, vulnerability in animals, and separation or reunion scenarios. Someone leaving, someone coming home, someone being surprised by a loved one. These aren't random. Every one of these triggers maps directly onto the emotional scenarios of early parenthood. Being kind to someone who can't repay you, protecting something vulnerable, the pain of separation, the mother. When you cry at a video of a soldier coming home to his daughter, your brain is rehearsing the neurobiology of reunion bonding. When you cry at a limping dog, your brain is practicing the protective vigilance you'll need for an infant who can't protect itself. When you cry because your partner brought you the right flavor, none of this is irrational. All of it is strategic. Now, there's an important distinction to make. Frequent crying during pregnancy is normal, but certain patterns of sadness are not. Approximately 15% of pregnant women experience prenatal depression, a clinical condition that goes beyond hormonal crying and involves persistent feelings of hopelessness, withdrawal, inability to feel pleasure, and sometimes thoughts of self-harm. The difference is usually clear. Hormonal crying comes in waves. It arrives suddenly, often over something specific, and it passes. You cry, you feel better, you laugh about it later. Prenatal depression doesn't pass. It settles. It coats everything in gray. If your crying has shifted from reactive waves to a constant background hum, if you've stopped finding joy in things you used to love, if you feel disconnected from the pregnancy itself, please talk to your doctor. Prenatal depression is treatable, common, and nothing to be ashamed of. And recognizing it early makes an enormous difference. But for the vast majority of pregnant women, the tears are simply your brain in renovation sad. The absurd, the mundane, lands harder than it used to. This doesn't make you fragile, it makes you sensitive. And in the context of what your body is preparing you for, sensitivity is exactly the right tool. So cry at the commercial, cry at the sunset, cry because someone held the door open and it felt like the kindest thing anyone has ever done. Your brain knows what it's building, and the tears are proof that the construction is on schedule. And if you've ever experienced that strange fog, forgetting things constantly, losing words, feeling like your mind has been replaced by cotton wool, the neuroscience behind mom brain turns out to be connected to everything we've discussed so far. That's next.